This message is just for you. You are good enough. This is the episode for you. Beware the sneaky assumptions that creep into your language learning. So today I want to talk about those tiny but harmful beliefs that creep up on us when we think about what a person of our language level or our experience should know or should be able to do. And I bet we've all got them. The thoughts that say, surely someone of this level should know the word for X, or I can't believe I've got to this grade and I still don't know the word for this thing in my kitchen, or how can I call myself intermediate or even just good at Spanish if I can't talk about this topic. It's also the belief that says every preschooler in the country knows how to talk about X or Y or Z. So why can't I as an intelligent adult? And those thoughts tell us a lot about our underlying beliefs about the proper order of language learning. And those beliefs are quite often based on how we learn our native language. So if we apply them as adults learning a second or additional language, they don't fit. And quite often when we do apply them, we're being really unfair to ourselves. As adults, we learn our language in all sorts of ways, and our exposure to different skills and grammar and areas of vocabulary come in completely different orders, depending on what our unique path looks like. With children, we start with the fruits and the farm animals and what noises the farm animals make, and we give them so many stories with elves and fairies and sea creatures. With adults, quite often, we start with the small talk. We move on to talking about things in our immediate surroundings, and then we specialize quite quickly to talking about the things that are related to our job or attending appointments in certain formal settings. We do it all differently. And that means that you get adults who are really, really competent in their language. They can talk about some really technical, deep, complex topics that they know so much about. But then they look at kids' stories, things about magic, things about creatures, and they have gaps. Or they look around their living room or their garage and they don't know what the word is for a tool that they use every single day. And it sounds so obvious when we feel secure in our language that this is something that just happens. But then as soon as something comes that sort of rocks our self-belief, that logic goes out the window, and we're worrying that that gap in our knowledge means that we're behind, that we're imposters, that we don't deserve the grade or the certificate that we have, or we worry that we're doing it all wrong. And so here are some really quick reminders for you. Number one, people at intermediate level who live in the country that speaks that language will probably have a much better grasp of groceries or the sorts of words that they'd pick up from running basic errands, doing admin, and attending appointments that you will. People who are raising children in that country will probably have a surprising grasp of insect and fairy tale vocabulary. And people who work in a particular sector in that language will pick up really high-level, industry-specific technical vocabulary as an intermediate learner. You can be at C1 level, advanced, and still not be able to name every item in a room in your house. You can call yourself advanced and have the certification to prove it, but freeze up at your first parent-teacher meeting. You can be upper intermediate, but forget the words for fruits or animals that you definitely learned when you were in the beginner chapters of the textbook, because if you're not regularly talking about those things, when do you use those words? Gaps in your language are not a sign that you're doing this wrong. They're part of a normal language learning journey, and they're okay. And they're just a sign of the things that you haven't really come into contact with yet, or haven't really seen for a while. Maybe they're not in whatever syllabus you're using. Maybe, especially in the case of household items or kitchenware, the topic has come up, but those particular words fall through the net. Or maybe they're things that you came into contact with ages ago, haven't needed, haven't used, and you've just forgotten. But there's always going to be stuff where your first reaction is, how can I be at this level and not know this? It's so simple, it's so basic. This item is around me every single day. Every single child in the land knows what to call it. And that reaction is normal, but so are the gaps. It's all part of the process. It's all okay. So keep going. You're doing so well, and it will all be worth it. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you back here tomorrow.